Welcome back, campers. I'm Jersh,
And I'm Mears.
and we are the Modern Campfire Crew, huddled around our computers to talk all things movies. In this episode, we are going to review the movie Dream Scenario, starring Nicolas Cage. It recently premiered on HBO Max, HBO, whatever you want to call it, and it was one that we had both missed, and so we thought it would be fun as our first post-Oscar season episode to dive into a movie that has some potential with an actor we both like. And I had kind of through the grapevine heard good things about it, but I don't know anything about it. So what we'll do is we'll do a brief spoiler-free review, and then we'll give our rating, and then we will have a brief spoiler discussion as well. So Dream Scenario was written and directed by Christopher Borgli, and it stars Nicolas Cage, Julianne Nicholson, and I actually won't even say the rest of the cast in case it's a surprise. It was a surprise to me. And the plot, I won't get too involved in it. Essentially, Nicolas Cage plays a teacher who starts to become involved in a lot of a variety of people's lives in a kind of strange, funny, but scary way. And that's all I'll say about the plot as we're in the spoiler-free section. So, Mirrors, what did you know about this movie ahead of time? Were you aware of the premise? Had you seen the trailer? What was your kind of preconceived notions? And then what did you think of the film?
So I didn't know what this movie was about at all. I'd seen images of him, so I knew what he looked like. And then I'd seen I think parts of the trailer on mute, like scrolling through social media, but not enough to really get what was going on.
Okay.
And I I knew I was gonna like it going into it because I'm like, it's Nicolas Cage. He's been doing crazy movies lately, and I loved The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like hoping it was going to be something like that. And I think it lived up to my expectations. I really liked it. I even have already gotten other people to watch it so far, and I just watched it yesterday. And I think it was a really cool, unique idea. Didn't expect it. Um, and yeah, I loved all the cast as they kind of revealed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea some of these were going to be in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was just like a really cool movie, and I felt like I was engaged the whole time as things progressed, as his situation progressed and changed. And yeah, I thought it was a really good movie, and once I saw at the end who the producer was, it kind of made sense
Mm-hmm.
for some of the movies that am aware of that he has done that I know are kind of a similar um, style and uniqueness. And yeah, I really like this movie.
So for me, I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't seen the trailer. I didn't read the premise. I don't. All that I knew was that Nicolas Cage was in it. Apparently, the director. This is like only his second or third movie he's ever directed. He's 39 or 40 years old and just directed his first movie 7 years ago. And
Oh.
so, um, I mean, congratulations to them. I'll dig deeper and find out how jealous we should all be if they're just really talented or if they happen to know maybe their uncle's a producer. I don't know, but yeah, the producer is a recognizable name for sure. And when I saw that in the credits, I completely agree. It made sense. Um, I felt like I really liked this movie for about two-thirds of it. I thought it lost a little bit of steam at the end and didn't really wrap up in a kind of rewarding, fun way, which I'll get to in spoilers. But overall, yeah, like the main premise, I loved. I thought it was incredible. I was like, this is what this movie's about. This is awesome. This is so awesome. This is so fun. And just the different things that Nicolas Cage gets to do with the premise and um, how it how it impacts the people in his life, his family. I thought the acting was really good. There are a few dinner scenes early on in the movie where there's a lot of just kind of like lackadaisical conversations happening around dinner tables that I felt everybody, whether they were a recognizable face or somebody who I had never seen before, was almost improv level casualness and comfort where it was very believable, very the expressions were not overly emotive. It just felt like very natural and like a realistic response and discussion to a fantastical situation, which is some of my favorite stories to consume. I thought the cinematography was really interesting with the sort of texture that the movie had, and the and the sort of dreamlike quality some of the sequences have, and also some cases where it's like not dreamlike at all, even though we're talking about dream scenario. Which again, I also like the title of the movie quite a bit. It's intriguing, but it doesn't really give anything away, you know. I thought the music was the right kind of weird for the way that the type of story that it was. The melody isn't sticking with me the way something like Poor Things has recently, but I thought it fit what happened. Um, and then yeah, just I think the makeup was also pretty solid, I suppose. I think Nicolas Cage was
Mhm.
wearing a little bit of some makeup and prosthetics in the movie that I think was like very believable. And I thought Nicolas Cage in general did like a really good job. Like,
He did.
um, he is Nick Cage. He's so specific and noticeable, and knowing that he really can't transform into other people anymore. You watch a Nick Cage movie to watch Nicolas Cage. So the fact that he does some things with his voice here and has some
Mhm.
consistent mannerisms and really one or two pretty emotional scenes that I thought was like performed very believably, and he was all in on it, I thought.
Mhm.
um so yeah, but I really didn't care for where it ended, where things wrapped up, and the ultimate
Mm.
some of the themes of the movie and the social commentary that was going on. It felt like it was like two or three too many social commentary cooks in the kitchen. It's like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about this, or are we talking about this? Or does this matter, or does this not matter? Like, and again, I'll talk about it more in spoilers. But was there anything that didn't work for you before we get to our scores?
Um, yeah, probably the very last scene. I
Okay.
didn't care for. I felt like they could have it almost ended like too abruptly, I thought. I felt like it was gonna like after the scene, that I'm talking about, like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like they could have had like I don't know, there could have been a phone call, there could have been some kind of resolution to that to see what was going to happen after that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of just stopped it, and it wasn't even like an open ended. It was just kind of like, and this is the end. I think without spoiling it, that it when it did change and go into the last like 10 minutes of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was really interested in seeing where that was gonna go, and then yeah, I was kind of disappointed in to see where his character ended up.
Yeah.
I felt like they could have really played around with that because after what happened, we could have seen a whole lot of things happen. But yeah, that's probably it was a little disappointing there at the end. And yeah, I'm with you. It's like two-thirds was like great and just are easily rewatchable, and probably even like that scene whenever it kind of like is a hard cut and it changes,
Mm-hmm.
probably up until that point, and then just the rest turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah. The ending was the beginning is it starts so strong, like
Mm-hmm.
so intriguing, especially when you don't know anything about it. You're like, what the hell is going
The
on here?
tone.
Yes.
The tone is so
uh
interesting in this. It's a couple different tones
yeah.
in it.
Yeah. I would say yeah, dark comedy for sure for the most part, social
Mhm.
commentary, and I won't go into anything else, but yeah, let's get our ratings here. How many marshmallows on the campfire before we get into the spoiler talk?
So I have decided to give it 8.5 marshmallows out of 10.
Okay. I'm a little lower on it just because I really, I feel like the best ideas that I consume, I'm jealous of, right? Like, oh, I wish I had thought of
Mhm.
that. And so I was really jealous of like the opener, the setup for this movie. But then by the
Mhm.
end, it just felt so squandered and so unresolved, and so it's almost like doesn't even matter how the movie like it's like the first half of the movie has almost nothing to do with the second half of the movie as far as like what it's talking about or what we're experiencing or even supposed to be worried about. But it still was so strong and still enjoyable and acted so well that I'm at a 7.5 for this one. So 7.5 marshmallows out of 10. So yeah, that's going to do it for our spoiler-free review and our ratings. Now let's go ahead and have a little bit of a fireside chat for the spoilers. Full spoiler warning for Dream Scenario, starring Nicolas Cage, that is streaming now on HBO Max. If you have not seen the movie, we both gave it a positive rating and recommend that you watch it, if possible, before you listen to the spoilers. If you don't care, stick around. We'll spoil it for you anyway. If you're new around here and you are watching this portion of the video, please like the video if you are enjoying it and subscribe if you are new. If you do comment on any videos, please give a healthy spoiler warning. We don't want to ruin these experiences for other people. Very spoiler averse around here. So what is on the top of your mind from a spoiler perspective that you would like to speak about, either highs or lows here, Mears?
Okay, so I took some notes at the beginning because it was already like impressing me,
Mm-hmm.
the dialogue. So like how um the conversation that he had with the woman who he was accusing of stealing his ideas.
Yeah.
At the so he was like, she goes, "Oh," when he was talking about he was writing a book, she said, "Can I read it?" And he goes, "Why? Do you need more material?" It was just like little lines like that really tickled me. And then also what they did there with while he was recording the conversation, it would cut back and forth between him in the car listening to it and then them actually in the restaurant. And then sometimes it would be the audio from the recording over them in the restaurant, so you could hear the audio from the recording. I thought that was really cool. And then just like seeing him, like hearing him get desperate and then he deletes it, and then him tell his wife that he didn't do it was really funny to me. He was obsessed with like everybody getting published when he met up with his ex-girlfriend and she said she had published it. He goes, "Oh, you're published too." It was just like the ways that he said it, I thought was really funny and like really good and the sign of a good actor. And it was just subtle but enough to like get me to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was, oh my gosh, what a wild whenever it got revealed. I like the way that it like slowly did it too. It wasn't
Oh, about
like
finding out
super
what's happening.
abrupt.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, completely
Yeah,
agree.
because it was like you would hear like certain people say, and then it was just kind of like it was a nice build up to that, I thought.
I wish I had mentioned this in the spoiler free portion, but I completely believe that this movie should have been nominated for a Best Editing Oscar. I thought, yes, the way that information is revealed through the edit, how it cuts away from the lunch early and you see what he did, and then it cuts back to what he
Mm-hmm.
did. And that the movie does that a couple of times where it cuts early, it shows you a character reacting to what they had just done, and then you're catching up with them and kind of experiencing the emotion with them. Like it hits your brain what he said and did while he's crying at the same time, and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
instead of, it's like you're experiencing it at the same time of the character instead of watching a train wreck happen and say, oh, this is going to wreck him, he's going to cry soon, and then he cries. You're like, yep, I knew that
Yeah.
was going to happen. Whereas here, it's like we cut away, he's crying, we don't understand why. Then as we hear him sobbing, we see why, and we kind of experience it in tandem with him. Yeah, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of great characterization for Nicolas Cage in particular, as far as his dialogue, his mannerisms, how he responds to the events that are occurring to him, and I loved the it's a great premise that he's showing up in people's dreams. It's even more amazing when they turn into nightmares and he gets to be like a bad
Yeah.
guy, a villain, like murdering all these people in their dreams. It was so fun, and I just love how nonchalant. It's like I'm having this dream. I'm walking in the forest and this monster chasing me, and then there's just weird Nicolas Cage just staring at you walking past. It was like never not funny. It was always
Mm-hmm.
hilarious.
And
Um,
how he was like obsessed with like when at the beginning when his daughter was telling him about her dream and he was like, so I just stood there, I didn't do anything, I was just passive. And then it was like everybody's, it was him just standing there. And then even and that brought into real life when the like stalker came in and tried to kill him,
Yeah.
and his wife was like, do something, and then the cop was like, it seems like you could have done something there, it seems like you weren't doing anything. Like he actually was, and I just love the way that it was just like hitting him to like
Yeah.
realize that he was such like kind of a, I guess he wasn't fulfilling like the typical male, role. In which, and it was like little stuff like he lives in his wife's childhood home. Like
Mm-hmm.
he didn't buy the family house. He took her last name. He was just kind of like all, and he's, being a passive role in everybody's dreams. It's like he's invisible. He lets other people control his life, and then now it's like he's kind of controlling other people's lives. He's showing up in their dreams, making them feel ways whenever it gets violent,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was like a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's really interesting the impact that dreams can have on our real life emotions. You know, if somebody's mean to you in a dream, you wake up and you say, "I'm mad at you today. You yelled at me last night." Or
Hmm.
if you have a dream where something bad happens to somebody and you're worried about them, second you wake up, you're terrified and you need to find that person to make
Hmm.
sure they're okay, because dreams, have an impact on our emotions. And I
Hmm.
do. It is. I mean, it's a really, again, it's not the stories, but how they're told. I mean, this is a story that's kind of been told before, where it's the mob mentality. First, everybody adores you, then everybody hates you, and you're the pariah. Um, there's, there's an old Simpsons episode that I heard another reviewer mention. I think it was the Breakfast All Day reviewers, where they said something to the effect of, uh, there's there's a Simpsons episode where like Bart, he like says a funny tagline on the radio, and then he like becomes like a sensation across Springfield, but then people get tired of him saying the tagline. But at the time, it was a commentary on The Simpsons in real life, because that was happening to The Simpsons in real life, because everybody was loving The Simpsons and they had all these catchphrases and taglines, and then there started to be a backlash against The Simpsons because they were everywhere. Which is why in that
Hmm.
Treehouse of Horror episode we watched, where they make fun of themselves, where it's like, oh, the Simpsons they're on everything and they say such stupid phrases. Like, that's like why. But so yeah, this mob mentality, this going after the Frankenstein's monster, like first you're fascinated, then you're terrified. Like, that's been done before. But I did love like this really unique kind of interpretation of it, and a more modern, updated version of it, with dealing with social media and viral and the digital
Hmm.
age and
Cancel
being.
culture.
Yes, and I really something that did kind of affect me and stuck with me is that, yes, how his real life was affected by things he didn't even do, right?
Hmm.
And so, yes, in this movie, it's a farce, it's a fantasy, it's about showing up in strangers' dreams randomly, which I'm so mad that they didn't explain it. I'm so mad they didn't explain it.
Yeah.
Even if it was a nonsensical answer, that was the most interesting thing to me, was the literal showing up in the dreams. Now, because it's a social commentary and metaphorical and allegory, whatever, they're like, well, and then it stopped, and it doesn't really matter. But what matters is, let's not treat people, let's not build them up as kings and tear them down as monsters just on one fell swoop, on a whim of our emotions. That's kind of like the message, of the movie, I feel. Um,
Hmm.
but I really feel it's a missed opportunity to go into why the hell that was happening. I thought that would have been a really fun avenue to go down,
Yeah.
especially if him as the main character, if him as the protagonist, could take some agency. Like, I was really, it's a little predictable, but I was excited about it. I thought we were going to get this arc where we have this pathetic nobody, nothing, who doesn't even do anything when he's dreamed about. Right? It doesn't get
Yeah.
more ineffectual or meaningless, worthless than that. And then I thought he was going to be able to take some agency in his own life, get to the bottom of these dreams, and become that go
Hmm.
getter, become that person that he wanted to be, and then maybe see a transformation in the dreams and in his real life. right? Almost like Back to the Future style, where
Hmm.
he comes back and now it's, I have the truck I want, my parents are how they want, we're all better people because, I went through this journey. And this movie just doesn't do that. In fact, his life gets more pathetic by the end because he
Yeah.
loses everything. Um,
I gasped at that scene when you see her hand and she's like, "Oh, Matthew's just attacked me." I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. This is really bad. This is really bad."
mm-hmm. It definitely started to lose steam for me at the apartment scene when he tries to reenact the dream with that girl. I mean, it was awkward as hell, and I
Yeah.
liked the premise, the idea of the scene of feeling the
Hmm.
pressure to recreate somebody's dream about you, but it went
Hmm.
on really long,
Did.
and like really from that point on is where the pace of the movie really started to slow down, and then it stopped being about almost the message of the movie and it started being about advertisements in your dreams. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
we're not, why is this all of a sudden a commentary on ads? Like we were doing a whole different movie a minute ago, like,
Yeah.
so what I thought was going to happen was I thought it was going to be this like left turn to where it's this ad thing, but then through that we were going to get a resolution to the story. He was going to get his wife back, or he was going to
Mm.
something to that effect. He was going to like use all the knowledge that he had learned, becoming this this hero and then this pariah. But nope, it just did what all, again, haven't I said it to you before, storytelling 101, end the same way you began under
Hmm.
different circumstances, right? So in the opening of the movie, his daughter floats away in a dream, and in the end of the movie
Yeah.
he floats
It
away
floats away.
at the
Yeah.
end, right? um I do think some of the characters, some of the family characters were a little underwritten, and maybe I missed some things, but I didn't quite understand why the wife would leave him over all this, except for
Yeah.
the plot requires it and the metaphor requires it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of took it as like it's obviously a fantastical movie and
Mm-hmm.
people reacted irrationally to the whole thing of like let's, harass this man for something that he literally can't control. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of took it as like, oh, she's leaving him because that's what makes sense in
In the
in
plot.
the story of the movie and in the
Yeah.
yeah and in the plot and that like he I don't know it just that it was ruining her life being married to him and like how she had said before it's embarrassing to be married to you and then it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of starting to ruin her work and then obviously with the assault it probably really was starting and we didn't see any of that but it probably really did ruin her life a lot
Yeah.
but yeah, I really wish that like with the ending after like when he visited her in her dream, that they would have shown some kind of resolution to that, whether they end it with, him calling her, her calling him. Like if we even just saw that she called him and he picked it up and that's
After the
the end, that
dream.
would have maybe that would
Yes.
have been even better. But because it went to he's wearing the talking head suit, he the things that they talked about earlier in the movie, and it just it made sense that like that it would come around to that, and then that would kind of like rekindle their love. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was kind of I was like, that's it, okay.
Yeah. Um, I did. I did like kind of the real worldness of it all, like dropping the right wing propaganda names of like, okay, the audience is turning against you, so it's time to go full right wing. We can get you on Rogan, we can get you on
Yeah.
Carlson, you know what I mean? Like,
This
this is what people do.
Not Jordan Peterson
Yeah.
is tickling me that they mentioned him. I'm like, oh my god. Because also at the time, I was trying to figure out if this was present day or like when we
Yeah,
were,
and
and
it
then
absolutely
that's
was.
exactly when I was like, oh, okay, so we are present day. Because I couldn't
Yeah.
tell if it was like 90, like what, like when exactly we were dealing with.
Yeah. Um but yeah, it does, I mean, it does genuinely, if you receive the message of the movie, it has an effect on you where it's like, okay, maybe that social media clickbait headline that I read, maybe I'm not going to be so emotionally strong about it one way or the other, like extremely supportive or extremely against. Like, I don't know what they did. I don't know what this company is basing the information on that they did something. So
Mhm.
just the mob mentality in general that is amplified in the digital age and the social media age
Mhm.
is definitely something that needs to be worked on for sure. So my favorite kind of entertainment is it's entertaining in the moment. It leaves you with a couple of ideas that you can apply maybe in your everyday life, and this movie definitely does that. So, yeah, I thought it was overall a really solid movie. I'm really glad that I finally got to see it, and I'm glad it wasn't spoiled
Mhm.
for me because the whole fun of the first half
Yeah.
hour is finding out what in the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also just loved how I loved everything about the first half of the movie is so strong, revealing what's happening, getting the clout,
Mhm.
getting people seeing the dream sequences, the random dream sequences and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was a bummer how it ended, but overall, I'm really glad that I watched it. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Why don't you take us home, Mears?
All right, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to leave a like or subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to leave us a comment and let us know what you thought of the movie. Thanks for watching. Until next time.